Wanted on all the news.
Put a piece of paper over the.
Oh, right.
Someone got a big piece of tape.
Yes. Does somebody have tape?
I have clear. Not gonna happen before this. We're getting started in just. We're gonna get started in just a minute, so let's not do this right now. Sorry. Thank you.
Sorry for later.
Yeah. All right, check, check. Good afternoon. My name is Montana Hirsch, MONTANA-HIRSCH, and I am a member of the Minnesota Immigrant Rights Action Committee and the People's Action Coalition Against Trump. We are here today to condemn the escalation of ICE agents in our city and say justice for Renee Good. This week, we have seen the effects of 2,000 more agents being deployed to Minneapolis. There are actions happening in the Twin Cities every day to demand ICE out of Minnesota, and we encourage everyone to attend. We are inviting everyone to take the streets with MIRAC this Saturday at 1 p.m. starting at Powderhorn Park for a rally and march. This week, we have seen ICE murder Renee Good, a mother who was out trying to keep her community safe and has done nothing wrong. Shame!
Shame!
We have seen community members stepping up to keep us safe, including so many educators. We have seen ICE agents increase presence around our school, like yesterday's attack right across the street here at Roosevelt High School, where they brutalized and detained an educator and tear gassed students at dismissal time. Shame!
Shame!
I am an educator in Minneapolis Public Schools, and I'm only able to be present here today because Minneapolis Public Schools are closed for the day and for the rest of the week because students, families, and staff do not feel safe going to school. Shame!
Shame!
We stand in full solidarity with the immigrant community in Minneapolis and with all who are patrolling the streets to keep our neighborhoods safe and fighting back against ICE terror. We demand justice for Renee Good. This includes the immediate arrest of the killer ICE agent, the immediate release of his identity to the public. We demand a real sanctuary policy in all of Minnesota that prohibits any local law enforcement or city or state officials from working with ICE at every level of Minnesota government, including the city, county, and state.
Yes.
And we demand ICE out of Minnesota and legalization for all. And so with that, I'm going to introduce our first speaker, Alvin Shang with the Minnesota Immigrant Rights Action Committee.
My name is Alvin Sheng, and that's ALVINSHENG, and I'm a member of the Minnesota Immigrant Rights Action Committee, MIRAC. The previous Sunday, the Trump administration deployed 2,000 ICE agents to Minneapolis as part of a targeted attack on our Somali and Latine communities. Kristi Noem and Gregory Bovino themselves visited the Twin Cities accompanied by a parade of militarized agents and vehicles to manufacture xenophobic propaganda against our community.
Are you here legally?
However, we will not be cowed into giving up our civil rights in the face of this aggression. This was a follow-up to the so-called Operation Metro Surge, which started in December of last year, where ICE agents started prowling our neighborhoods and kidnapping our immigrant neighbors with a much higher intensity than before. This was the moment that spontaneous rapid response networks and those organized by MIRAC Immigrant Defense Network, and Monarca kicked into high gear. The people participating in these networks have been heroic. We should keep up the effort, but also remember to remain as united as possible by following the St. Paul principles and put the impacted immigrants' needs first. I want to take a moment to recognize that it is a scary time. Our neighbors are being kidnapped off the streets as we speak. However, the response to this should not be isolating ourselves, but leaning even more on our community. Yesterday, a 37-year-old constitutional observer, Renee Nicole Good, was shot and killed by ICE agents while driving away when they were conducting a raid in South Minneapolis. In the wake of Renee's murder, 10,000 people showed up on Portland Avenue to express their grief and commitment to stand up for their immigrant neighbors. This is in addition to the vigils and protests that have erupted across the country, many of which were organized by the chapters of the Legalization for All network. Rest in peace, Renee Nicole Good. Thank you for standing up for our immigrant neighbors. We absolutely have the numbers. The more we show up for each other, the safer all of us will be. So get trained, get organized, and show up for each other. Who keeps us safe?
We keep us safe.
That's right. It's not the police nor Walz's National Guard, but ultimately us, the community, that keeps us safe. This is illustrated by the recent passage of a stronger sanctuary city ordinance in Minneapolis, which was only possible through the grassroots efforts of MIRAC and immigrant rights allies. To maintain our momentum, please join us at the rally and march this Saturday at 1 p.m. at the northwest corner of Powderhorn Park, where we'll celebrate our victory and hold our Minneapolis leaders accountable to the stronger separation ordinance. When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
Damn right. Thank you all.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jay Yates with the Twin Cities Coalition for Justice.
The Coalition of Justice.
My name is Jay. I'm with the Twin Cities Coalition for Justice, a Black and queer-led organization fighting in solidarity against police brutality and stands in solidarity with all struggles for liberation. We are a branch of the National Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression and the People's Action Coalition Against Trump. First, I want to say that on behalf of everyone in TCC4J, I offer my sincerest condolences to Renee Good's wife, children, and remaining family. She represents the core of what makes us human, the instinct to stand up for her neighbors and offer everything she could in the name of justice. She was killed because she knew what ICE is doing to our immigrant communities is wrong and had joined thousands of people exercising their legal right to film and observe law enforcement. We will never forget her or her sacrifice. But we must also not forget that her death is not the first murder ICE has on its hands. 32 people have died in ICE custody just in 2025, and 2/3 of the 1,800 detainees held at the Alligator Alcatraz concentration camp are still missing. Keith Porter, a Black California resident, was murdered by an off-duty ICE agent on New Year's Eve, less than a week prior to them killing Renee. His murder, too, was justified by a false narrative pushed by DHS that the officer who killed him feared for his life, a narrative contradicted by eyewitnesses. Miramar Martinez, who also was legally observing ICE in Chicago, was shot 5 times by ICE agent Charles Exum, who bragged that he'd fired 5 rounds and she had 7 holes. Put that in your book, boys. Miramar luckily survived and defeated her charges of domestic terrorism, but 2025 was yet again a year with well over 1,200 deaths at the hands of law enforcement nationwide. And there were only 6 days the entire year that police didn't kill anyone. Here in our city, our police force has its own long, bloody history of murdering Black and Indigenous people and justifying it after the fact by saying they feared for their lives. Minneapolis Police Department lied about George Floyd being on drugs to shield Derek Chauvin from responsibility for his torturously slow death. Philando Castile was murdered in his car with his girlfriend and child present. Jamar Clark's killers lied and said he was a domestic violence suspect that reached for their gun despite him being handcuffed when he was shot. Amir Locke was asleep, and they killed him within seconds of entering his apartment because they thought that he had a gun. His killer, Mark Hanneman, not only faced 0 consequences, he got a promotion. These deaths were just as wrong as Renee's. We must understand Renee's murder not as an isolated tragedy, but a link in a long chain of brutality that Black, Indigenous, and Latino communities especially have borne the brunt of. Until we accept the reality that law enforcement, whether it's DHS, ICE, FBI, or local police, have and will fabricate justifications for the murder of anyone they feel threatened by, we will not end the violence of this system. Until we accept that the foundations of law enforcement in this country are racist, that the laws and practices of these organizations began with Jim Crow and the expulsion of Native peoples from their land, we cannot end the violence of this system. Change begins with honesty. The honest truth is that we are paying for the boot on our necks. Our taxes pay for the bullets that kill our neighbors. They cannot exist without us, and yet we have no say in what they do in our neighborhoods. Ending this cycle of violence and inaction only happens if we take control and win real power over the structures that govern our lives. We must demand independent, democratic civilian oversight of all law enforcement, including the Minneapolis Police Department. We owe it to the people who we've lost and the people who still have justice denied to them. We need community control, and we will not stop until every killer cop and agent pays for their crimes. TCC4J joins the community's demands to release the names of the ICE agent who murdered our sister, prosecute, and jail him. And we join people across the country demanding that ICE get the hell out of our cities right now. Justice for Renee Good. Justice for Renee Good and all stolen lives. Thank you.
Justice! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
Our
Get a
next
fucking life!
speaker is Natasha Doctor, the Vice President of the Teacher Chapter of the Minneapolis Federation of Educators.
Good afternoon. My name is Natasha Doctor, and I am the Vice President of the Minneapolis Federation of Educators, and we are proud to be here today with MIRAC, a critical community organization. Yesterday was a horrific day in our community because of the continued attack by federal immigration enforcement on our city and the murder of an observer, Renee Good, a neighbor looking out for our community. Additionally, we saw the reckless and lawless nature of immigration enforcement when they came onto school grounds, deployed tear gas, and detained an educator who was doing their job at dismissal, a critical process that all schools do every day. Their actions yesterday strengthen our resolve as educators that federal immigration enforcement is not welcome in our city. And as educators and union members, we continue to demand that ICE leave our city. Our students and families deserve to be able to safely exercise their constitutional right to a public education. We keep us safe.
Right. Our next speaker is Andrew Josephchek with the Minnesota Anti-War Committee.
My name is Andrew Josephchek, AndrewJosephchak. I'm a member of the Minnesota Anti-War Committee, which is a member of the People's Action Coalition against Trump. I've been to 2 emergency protests in the last week, one in response to the Trump administration's criminal bombing of Venezuela's capital and the illegal kidnapping of President Nicolas Maduro. The second in response to ICE's summary execution of Renee Good in South Minneapolis yesterday. While there may not seem to be an immediate causal connection between the two events, they in fact are connected because they are both reflections of one and the same policy, U.S. imperialism, a policy of exploitation of the world's people at gunpoint for the benefit of the rich.
Look at
ICE
those
terror
SSRI
is
eyes.
only an escalation of an existing situation. U.S. immigrants are being driven by U.S. laws and
There
police
was an
into a state of
emergency
desperation
protest.
where they're forced to work
It's an
the worst
emergency
jobs
to
for
go
the
act
worst
like a
pay
moron.
with no legal protections and no social safety net. Trump himself has already made it clear he doesn't actually plan to deport most immigrants working in agriculture or meat packing or other dangerous, illegally underpaid jobs that rely on workers who don't have a choice, who understand that their boss could have them separated from their children at any time. What the Trump administration wants is for these people to know their place, the same way it has said that Venezuela must stay in line or face more bombings. Many immigrants come here from places like Venezuela, countries that have been subjected to devastating economic sanctions and U.S.-backed coup attempts. And while the Anti-War Committee entirely unites with Mirak's demand for legalization for all, we believe that immigration should be a choice. It shouldn't be something that is necessitated by the fear of death or starvation. I myself have traveled through Venezuela on an international solidarity delegation, and I can tell you that what you're hearing in the media about the country.
Hold the fuck on. Hold the fuck on. How is it an emergency to protest? Do we call 911 to get an emergency protest? Is that how it works?
Its people and its government is as obvious a lie as Trump's claim that the man we all watched murder Renee Good yesterday on clear as day video was hit by her car and is in the hospital in critical condition. The Trump administration does not want us to believe our own eyes. In Venezuela, I saw a country that is determined to use its natural wealth to provide for all its people and not just the wealthy. I saw free healthcare programs and food distribution programs. I saw massive housing developments. I met peasant cooperatives who had been given land that had been stripped from wealthy landowners and given to them so they could use it to feed themselves and their country. I met person after person who told me how much better life had gotten since Venezuela kicked the U.S. and its oil corporations out. People who can stand up for themselves, who live free of terror, are difficult to exploit. The whole people of Venezuela have been painted with the brush of narco-terrorist for standing up for their own country, a word that has been used to justify summarily executing fishermen in the Caribbean in the same way domestic terrorist was used to justify the execution of Renee Good, who was standing up for justice and against terror right here in Minneapolis. U.S. imperialism has really come home to roost, and I want to end by reminding people of the real meaning of the word solidarity. It doesn't just mean standing up for someone else. It means that by standing up for someone else, you're standing up for yourself. It's time for everyone in the U.S. who has an interest in fighting U.S. imperialism to hit the streets, and I believe that's just about everybody in this country. ICE out of Minneapolis, long live international solidarity, venceremos.
So we call 911 for an emergency protest? Are you fucking stupid?
Our next speaker is Alyssa Washington with the Wrongfully Incarcerated and Over-Sentenced Families Council.
The wrongfully incarcerated. This ought to be good.
Today, we are here to speak. Well, first of all, my name is Alyssa Washington. I'm the founder of the Wrongfully Incarcerated and Over-Sentenced Families Council, Minnesota. You spell my name ALISSAWASHINGTON. So today we are here to speak truth, and we will not whisper it. We are here to condemn the actions of U.S. immigration and customs enforcement agents and all those who are terrorizing our communities under false banner of law and order. What they are doing is not safety, it is fear. It is violence. It is state-sanctioned terror. Raiding homes.
Nobody special says, oh God, another EBT holder.
Detaining human beings in cages. This is not justice, it's cruelty. And today we must also say her name, Renee Good. Renee Good was an observer. She was not a threat. She was not committing a crime. She was not endangering anyone. She did not deserve to have her life taken. Observers exist to protect accountability. They exist because communities know that unchecked power kills. And Renee Good paid the ultimate price, simply for witnessing, for being present, for caring enough to show up. Her death is not an isolated tragedy. It is the predictable outcome of systems that treat human life as collateral damage. Let us be clear, this did not come out of nowhere. The unlawful arrest of immigrants, the killing of observers, and the wrongful incarceration of our loved ones are deeply connected to the same system. Our organization knows this system intimately. We work with families who have lost decades, not because they committed crimes, but because prosecutors cut corners, police lied, informants were rewarded, evidence was hidden, and human lives were treated as disposable. The same system that locks our loved ones in cages for life is the same system that hunts immigrants in these streets, in our streets. The same system that ignores innocence is the same system that denies humanity, our God-given right humanity. The same system that profits off prisons is the same system that profits off detention centers. Different targets, same machine. Wrongful incarceration, over-sentencing, immigration detention, and the killing of community observers are not separate issues. They are different manifestations of the same violent structure built on control, punishment, and white supremacy. When ICE agents stalk our neighborhoods, they use the same playbook that has been used against Black, brown, and indigenous and poor communities for generations. Criminalize, dehumanize, disappear, and justify it later. Our organization stands in unwavering solidarity with immigrants, documented or undocumented, because no human being is illegal, especially on stolen land. We stand with families forced to live in fear. We stand with children wondering if their parents will come home. We stand with workers exploited in silence. We stand with observers like Renee Good, who should still be alive today. And we stand with every incarcerated person whose freedom was stolen by the system. And we say this clearly. Safety does not come from cages. Safety comes from community. We believe in a world where resources go to housing, healthcare, education, and healing, not policing, prisons, and deportation squads. We believe freedom should not depend on your zip code, your skin color, your income, or the country you were born in. So today we reject fear. We reject silence. We reject the lie that oppression is justice. And we declare together, an attack on immigrants is an attack on all of us. And an attack on the incarcerated is an attack on all of us. An attack on observers and truth tellers is an attack on all of us. Our liberation is bound together. We will organize. We will resist. We will protect each other. And we will not stop until all our people are free. Ashe.
We live on stolen land, y'all. Well, I pay a lot of fucking money for the stolen land.
Our next speaker is Ben Ramirez from Asamblea de Derechos Civiles.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. I really appreciate all the support from the community against ICE. We cannot breathe. We cannot breathe with this fascist, racist hostility being aimed at the most marginalized, the most vulnerable, and the most in need of our love and our care and our voices in defense of the innocent. We cannot breathe when a despot, tyrant, misleader sends these soldouts from ICE with military weapons to threaten and cause deaths and despair.
Why don't you just get up there and cry?
We cannot breathe. It is now time to take our gloves off and unite to fight against this racist, fascist, ungovernment with everything that we can. Nazi ideology and Gestapo tactics are not welcomed in our community.
That's right.
We do not need them. We don't want them. They have no place in our cities. We will not go peacefully, and we will fight against them in all their lives. Thank you. Short and sweet.
Hi, I'm Jess Sundin, Jessssundin. I'm speaking representing I'm the shorty, People's Action Coalition Against Trump. And I bopped up here because a couple of our speakers aren't here yet or may not be able to come at all today because of the absolute chaos that ICE created in our communities. Of course, we had the murder of Renee yesterday, but we've had parents kidnapped, dropping their kids off at school. We've had educators and students tear gassed by ICE at our schools. We've had people snatched out of their cars, taken from bus stops, countless places. No corner of our city is safe right now. And so, of course, organizers are everywhere. It's been around the clock. It is exhausting, but we are not exhausted. It is tiring, but we are not tired. And we are going to continue our work until we have justice, until ICE is out of Minnesota, but until beyond that, we have real liberation for not only immigrants, legalization for all, but for all of our communities that are represented. I just wanted to say a few things, and then what we'll do is we'll take questions for the speakers that are here, but I want you to know the folks who aren't here or aren't here yet include a representative of 5051. I know they were very involved with action at the Whipple this morning, and that may be why they couldn't get here yet today. We have a representative who was planning to come and speak from CARE, Minnesota, representing the Somali community, which has been brutally demonized by the president, his administration, and is not only hunting our Latino neighbors, but our Somali neighbors here in Minnesota. And finally, council member for Ward 9, Jason Chavez, is on his way. He's texting us while he's coming. He's been everywhere these last 3 days. He not only has had his own family impacted by ICE operations, having a loved one kidnapped earlier this week, but he represents the community part of Phillips and Powderhorn that's heavily targeted by these ICE operations. So we hope that you will stay and wait to hear from Councilman Chavez when he arrives. And in the meantime, the other speakers who are here today will be happy to answer the questions that you do have. The last thing I want to say before I step down is it is important for us to come out. I said we're not tired. I said we're not overwhelmed. It's overwhelming, but we're still good. We are still ready to fight. And so people will be marching tonight. People will be marching on Saturday. And that's like right up here. We definitely need everyone to come out. 1 o'clock at Powderhorn Park on Saturday. March with our immigrant-led MIRAC, Minnesota Immigrant Rights Action Committee, to demand ICE out of Minnesota. Keep coming out. Those of you that are doing neighborhood patrols and supporting those, that's amazing work. There's asks for different kinds of mutual aid. We have neighbors bringing groceries to families that are afraid to leave the house. When school is open, we have neighbors giving rides to kids when parents are afraid to leave the house. We are up and down the line, standing together in defense of our community. And so again, we're open for questions for now, but please stay to hear from Councilmember Chavez. I think he has a lot of knowledge about what's happening in our city and a lot of important things to share.
Can we elaborate on the details as far as Saturday? I know there's a march. Is there anything else you can share with the public as far as the direction or any of those details?
No details on the direction. There will be a march. We expect it to be very large, and we really hope to see everybody there.
What does it say, more than 1,000 last night at the vigil, what does that say about just the public's reaction to this violence?
That says that ICE cannot come into our city and murder a community member in broad daylight without the people ready to stand up and fight back.
That's right.
That's right. What should protesters, the public, do if ICE begins agitation? What's the proper response there?
I mean, basically, yeah, this is a good question. Protesters should stand up and fight back however they feel safe doing so. I mean, the main thing is protesters are out there to keep their eyes on what's happening, to create barriers between them and community members, to stand with their neighbors, and to keep their community safe, because we care about our neighbors here in Minneapolis.
That's right. Excuse me, Rebecca from the Associated Press.
Do these idiots want shot too? Are they dumb? Is there something wrong with them?
Pretty much everybody in the city of Minneapolis right now cares about their neighbors, is coming out, is observing, and is doing the work. It doesn't matter if you're connected to a rapid response group, if you're, with a certain group or not. The whole city is coming out. Everybody is an observer, and everybody cares about their neighbors getting kidnapped and brutalized in the city. So what I've seen is that the city has not stopped observing. The city has not stopped patrolling. The city has not stopped being out. From the second that Renee Good was murdered, we have seen the city continue through the night, today, yesterday, after it happened. There were observers patrolling the entire time. There still are, and they're not going anywhere.
MPD has talked about not getting involved in this and not helping out the federal agents. What's MIRAC's thoughts on the way MPD has handled this whole ordeal up to this date of this time?
So we've had a campaign in Minneapolis to strengthen the separation ordinance between MPD and ICE. We do not believe MPD should be working with ICE, assisting ICE at all. They do not keep the community safe.
What are your thoughts on how they've acted to this date, though?
Those are my thoughts on how they've acted to this date. And actually, we're going to pause questions because Councilmember Chavez is here. So I would like to introduce our last and final speaker, Councilmember Jason Chavez.
Hi everyone, Jason Chavez, Ward 9 City Council members. It's been a very difficult day for the past. It was a very difficult day yesterday, I'll start with that. I know that the entire city of Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota is with Renee and Renee's family. What we experienced yesterday was an incident that no one, no loved one, no family member should ever have to experience. I want to talk a little bit about what our communities have been doing here in the city and the state. Because what you are seeing from folks on the top of the level at the federal government is trying to demonize our neighbors. Neighbors that are literally helping provide rent for our immigrant neighbors that are struggling to barely make it by. Folks patrolling our neighborhoods to make sure that they can alert any neighbor that immigration enforcement is happening on their block, in their neighborhood, or in their city. Folks driving people to work and back home from work. Folks that have not been sleeping for many hours just to make sure that their loved ones can stay together, because what the federal government is trying to do is tear our community apart and split our community members apart as well. And what we need from the community right now is to continue to patrol our neighborhoods, continue to observe the illegal actions by the federal government, because they are completely illegal. And the reason I am saying that is because we need people to continue to stand up. What happened on 34th and in Portland should have never happened. We need that ICE agent and those ICE agents that were complicit in that act to be immediately arrested.
That's right. That's right.
We need these ICE agents immediately fired.
That's right.
And they need to be held accountable for their atrocities. And we will take nothing less than that. And after that, we will continue to stand with our immigrant neighbors, and we will continue to call for the complete abolition of ICE, because they should not exist to begin with.
That's right.
Thank you all for being here. on a very terrible morning. I guess the call I'll make is, and as an elected official, I'll say this, when you hear your governments tell you that you can't do more, you can, right? We know what we're hearing from our immigrant neighbors is that rent is a big issue, so we need to continue to push for rent control in the city of Minneapolis and in the state. We need to make sure that governments across Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota are putting more money for rent assistance because folks are struggling to pay that rent. We need to make sure that cities, not just in Minneapolis, but across the state, are putting more funding to legal assistance because folks are literally being kidnapped. And we have a federal government that is now it takes 1 day to get transferred to a different state because they want to obscure due process from our community members. So we need folks to do that. And again, I'll keep telling you all, we need legal observers, folks patrolling our neighborhoods, but there are neighbors that still need food. Mm-hmm. And we need folks to stand up and drive to their homes and give them food. You know, when there are snow emergencies, it seems like a very small thing. But when there are snow emergencies, offer your neighbors that are vulnerable the ability for you to move their cars. That may sound like a small thing right now, but it's a big deal because what we have is ICE agents literally going into those individuals and kidnapping them. They're going to bus stops and kidnapping them on the way to daycares, on the way to schools. They're taking them and kidnapping them. And we just need folks to rise up in Minneapolis. And that looks like in many different ways, but part of rising up is showing up for your neighbors. And part of showing up is also advocating for policy changes. I'm out there patrolling the neighborhoods too, but I also know my responsibility. And it's as a policymaker to say enough is enough. And we can't just say, ICE, get the fuck out of here. What we have to actually do is pass meaningful policy that is going to keep families together.
That's right.
So yes, ICE can get the fuck out of here, but we also need to make sure that Minneapolis is saying, these are the policies we have to make. Mm-hmm. We need rent control in Minneapolis to make sure families can stay here. Mm-hmm. We need more money for immigration legal services. Mm-hmm. We actually have to kick out ICE out of here. We need to make sure that folks have the needs that they have to make sure they can stay together. But that actually means that we actually listen to the people, like people here asking for actual changes in our city. So again, what happened yesterday is disgusting. Renee is in all of our hearts. And what we know is that we need more people out there because as I'm sitting here, I wouldn't be surprised if more folks are getting kidnapped. So thank you all.
Okay, we will resume taking questions.
You had said you called for accountability, the arrest of the ICE agents who were involved in that shooting. How realistic do you really think that is, though, considering the challenges involved?
All right, y'all, we will be live very shortly from Tampa City Hall for a protest. We will be live in the field. We're going to end the broadcast now with the crybabies. We love you guys. We'll see you shortly from Tampa City Hall, Tampa, Florida. We're going to end the broadcast right now. We love you guys.